All right. I believe it is 6:30, so I'd like to call us to order in accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws 1985, Section 30-4-80-E. The following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. If I could, please ask you all to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for your flexibility. It is not our normal meeting time. If for those who are either in the room or watching, we did have a session earlier tonight where we got an update from our Citadel EHS partners that have done the some of the SILFAB analysis, third-party analysis, and for anyone that was not able to make that, we will have the materials that were presented, which will include a slide that was apparently missing. But all the materials will be out on the district website along with the video recording of the session. I guess there's a place on the website where all of the other SILFAB material is out there, and that this will be included as soon as we can get around to getting it up there in the next little bit. So I just wanted to share that, and thank you guys for your flexibility with the time shift to accommodate that. You have all received a copy of the agenda. Were there any adjustments or corrections?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All right, that will stand with unanimous consent. And I will just say Dr. Frederoli sends his regrets. He is in Canada, I believe, on a business trip, so he will not be able to join us this evening. He's probably watching. All right, we do have some special recognition to start off with, and it's different because it comes from up here. One of the things that goes along with, what did I just do with that piece of paper? One of the things that goes along with being on the school board is a fair amount of training with the School Board Association, and they have levels that they call boardsmanship levels, and it's the more training that you attend, the higher the level. And we have 3 individuals on our board who have achieved a new level of boardsmanship, and it's a lot of time commitment. And goes into deeper and deeper things. It starts out with some basics about Robert's rules, but then, you know, there's a lot of special case studies. There's legal sessions, there's risk sessions, et cetera. So I just want to congratulate the ones who have earned the new levels. And I will start off by recognizing Mr. Bodie, who has achieved level 3 boardsmanship. If you would like to come down and get your plaque. Ms. Pratt has also achieved level 3, if you would like to join them down there. And Mr. Helms has achieved level 2. So congratulations. That's right, get the picture made.
Oh, yeah, look here.
All right, good job, guys. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve, the first of which would be from September the 3rd. Any adjustments or corrections for that?
Ma'am.
All right, those will stand with unanimous consent, and the other one from September the 30th. And I will also add that at the September 30th meeting was something that was written into a contract that we did I don't know if it was listed as a 90-day or 100-day checkpoint of Mr. Young's first few months on the job as superintendent. So we spent some time talking about his goals and priorities for the next little bit. I think it's safe to say as a board, we're very pleased with the way things are off and running. So good job so far. Keep it going.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
all right. With that, we've got our next item being public participation, and I believe I've got 3 cards. They were given to me in a certain order, so I'm going to call them out in that order. When I call your name, you can come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and then you'll have, because there's 3 of you, 5 minutes each to address the board. And the first is Frank Jernick, I think.
My name is Frank Jernick. I live at 2591 Lower Assembly Drive here in Fort Mill. I'm here tonight because the trust between this district and its families has been broken. We trusted that when a heavy industrial facility storing explosive and toxic chemicals began construction less than a mile from our schools, someone would speak up for our children's safety. We trusted that our classrooms, the places where our kids spend 7 hours a day, were equipped to protect them from outside threats. And we trusted that our teachers, the first responders inside every school, were trained for any emergency that could harm their students. That trust has been shattered. CILFAB's own filings showed massive quantities of silane gas and hydrous ammonia and hydrofluoric acid, chemicals that ignite on contact with air, corrode lungs and skin, and can form deadly fumes if released. Yet parents learned this not from the county, not from the school district, but from citizens' research and public record requests. We also know that the HVA system in Fort Mill schools are not designed to block or filter outside air in the event of a chemical release. During a plume event, those systems could actually pull contaminated air into our classrooms. And while we have practice for fires, intruders, and storms, no teachers in this district have received formal training on how to respond to an external hazard materials emergency. Think about that. Meanwhile, Rock Hill schools have already implemented the standard response protocol, a district-wide emergency preparedness system that trains staff and students on how to respond to specific scenarios, including hazardous material events. They have trained teachers to know what to do to secure, hold, or shelter based on real-time information, and to communicate clearly during any emergency. So I asked this board, why not Fort Mill? Why are we waiting for another district to lead on something that directly affects our children first? Why are we behind when a heavy industrial factory has almost completed construction right next to our schools? Trust is not restored with words. It is restored with accountability. If you want parents to believe again, start by doing what Rock Hill just did. Tonight I'm asking you to, 1, adopt a district-wide emergency training protocol modeled after Rock Hill's standard response program. 2, conduct an independent HVAC safety review for every school near the CILFAB site. 3, provide full transparency to parents about what is being done to protect our children. Rock Hill is preparing their teachers. Fort Mill should be protecting its children. Trust is not lost because danger exists. Trust is lost when leadership looks the other way. Please do not look away. Thank you for my time.
Thank you. Jared Morago?
Like the country, just spelled differently.
Good morning.
Good evening, sorry. My name is Jared Morocco. I live on 1090 Dorsey Drive in Fort Mill, and I'm here tonight as a parent who's furious with the way the school board has handled the CILFAB crisis. You tell us you care about our children's health and safety, but your actions tell a very different story. You scheduled a so-called community session at 5 o'clock, the exact time working parents cannot attend, and it's during the major holiday of Diwali. Then you limit the session to 1 hour, as if the safety of our children going to school in an evacuation zone can be rushed through in a PowerPoint. That's not community engagement, that's a box-checking exercise. You refuse to release the baseline air sampling results before the meeting. Why? Parents deserve that data ahead of time so we could consult experts and prepare meaningful questions. Instead, you kept us in the dark and left us scrambling. That's not transparency, that's control. You announced the event just a few weeks in advance. If genuine input mattered, it would have been shared widely through every email, every social post, every channel parents rely on. Instead, it was quietly posted, almost as if the goal was to keep attendance low. That's not outreach, that's exclusion. And worst of all, you allowed the dates of baseline air sampling to be shared publicly, even with CILFAB. That hands the potential polluter a script. By knowing the exact window of testing, CILFAB could choose to run production during those hours and inflate the baseline. That means what is supposed to be a safety benchmark could instead be a distorted picture that makes future pollution seem normal. A baseline only matters if it reflects reality, not if it's staged. And that brings me to what is most infuriating, the double standard, the way this board obsesses over the smallest details with parents while ignoring the biggest threat sitting across the street. This board emails parents about burning leaves. Children came home and told their parents they smelled smoke inside their classrooms. And instead of admitting that this showed the system failed to protect our children, you try to spin it as communication. But what it really proves is that the much touted MERV 13 HVAC system is not doing what you promised parents it would do. If it cannot keep out ordinary smoke, it certainly will not keep out hazardous gases like silane, ammonia, or hydrofluoric acid. You warn us about backyard smoke, but you ignore a chemical plant capable of blanketing whole neighborhoods. You even put signs outside the school that say, "Kids breathe here," to remind parents to turn off their car engines. Yet you stay silent when it comes to a factory next door that could release toxic gases our children would breathe directly into their lungs. The contradiction is outrageous, and parents aren't fooled. So I ask you, who do you really serve? The families who elected you, or the corporation across the street? Because right now, your actions show us exactly where your loyalty lies, and it's not with our children. Thank you.
Thank you. And Brandon Dunford.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Dunford, reside at 157 Rose Tree Lane in Fort Mill. I have a list of questions that we will be submitting as you had requested at the end of the meeting, but some that we just would like to formally read off that we believe are very important for the community to know. So why is the district chosen not to formally oppose zoning decisions that allow heavy industrial operations directly adjacent to schools? I understand you can't answer these now, that's fine. Just for the record, thank you. How much weight does the district place on maintaining good relationships with county officials versus advocating for the health and safety of its students? And does the district understand that it has damaged its credibility by choosing to side with industry over its own families? What message does it send to parents when the district recognizes danger privately but stays silent publicly? The continuous perimeter monitors don't measure silane or hydrogen fluoride, only particulates, VOCs, and common gases. So if silane were released, the continuous system would not detect it in real time. Verify if that is correct. Citadel EHS sampling is scheduled quarterly and over a 24-hour period. If releases occurred between those times, is it not true that the monitoring system would not detect them? Is the district's legal obligation to ensure the safe learning environment being compromised by political considerations? What specific steps has the district taken to evaluate whether current zoning decisions comply with state and local laws designed to protect schools? How can the district justify enough concern to hire a consultant but still refuse to advocate for zoning protections? Why is the district publicly broadcasting the dates of testing will be done for the Flint Hill Elementary School to ensure that CILFAB doesn't halt illegal production on those dates, similar to the whistleblower affidavit, which stated that? If children or staff experience health symptoms consistent with chemical exposure, but the monitors don't exceed thresholds, what actions will your plan trigger, if any? Would this board agree that this monitoring does not eliminate risk, but only measures risk after exposure may have occurred? There are several others in here, but I will keep that briefly, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
And can I bring these up here for you, the
sure.
list of all of them?
Thank you. Let's see if I'm not sure I can do it. There we go. All right. All right, we've got some staff reports tonight, starting with a monthly financial and impact fee update from Ms. Lordo.
Okay, good evening. Tonight, I included in your packet the monthly financials for August. What's key about this month, it's the first month under the new budget where we are running the full payroll for all teachers. Because just as a reminder to everyone, teachers are paid on an August through July contract. So this begins to give us a very good idea of monthly expenditures under the new budget that you approved in June. So under the new budget, which is right at $254 million, the monthly expenditures now are about $20.9 million. So that's what we can expect going forward as our baseline. But for August, we were very consistent for this period versus August of 2024. Our total revenues were $24,210,300 cumulative, and our total expenditures were $28,922,000. So we were using fund balance as we would expect. At a level of about $4.7 million, which was exactly the same. I went back and looked at August of 2024. So we're very consistent. We're continuing to see property taxes coming in during this time period is almost 100% vehicle taxes. So we had vehicle tax collections of $2,191,000 for August. If you look through some of the expenditures, you'll see that a lot of our school district contracts are paid one time a year. So sometimes you may see a large expenditure hit because that's where we've paid a contract for this full school year. That also typically hits in July or August during this time period. But I did not see any other concerns as I reviewed August. Unless you have any other questions, I'll move on to impact fees. Impact fees collected to date are $81,413,108. We've earned interest on that fund, which is held in escrow by York County. We've earned interest of $7,463,000. So we've collected roughly with interest about $88 million. To date, we have claimed $84,455,000 with York County, meaning we've drawn that down against construction cost for Flint Hill Elementary and Flint Hill Middle. So as I've shared with you before, we watch it very closely now because we don't want to have any additional bonded debt where we have impact fee collections to make those construction payments. But single family units now, we have collected on 2,950 permits and multifamily 2,188 permits for a total of 5,138 permits. September, we had 5 homes and 4 multifamily, can be townhomes or condos, permitted. So September, we collected only $231,000, but October year to date, we've already seen more collections. Since we're now a little later in October than I would normally be reporting, we've collected $338,000 in October year to date. But we are expecting to continue to see that at this steady rate. The county has printed and mailed property tax bills. So we should start to see more property tax, real property collections coming in a little bit possibly in October, but definitely we see that come in November, December, and January of 2026 for property taxes. But I've shared I'm the only one that gets excited when the property tax bills
Yes,
go
you are.
out.
Yes, you are.
We are, as far as our year-end audit, we are very near completion, working with our external audit firm, Green Finney Colley. We are very close to the report drafting stage with them and finishing a few of the supplementary information tables. And also, Mr. Burke is helping me. He is working again with the graphics class at Nation Ford High School. as part of their curriculum. That's going on this month, and they are working on the students are submitting their designs for our little contest, for our audit report cover and tabs. And then also wanted to mention September 23rd, we had a bond issue, the $80 million bond anticipation note issue. $40 million of that was to pay off the $40 million we did a year ago. And then we issued $5 million towards the energy management program and $35 million towards now construction costs for Flint Hill Middle to supplement what we're collecting in impact fees. And we chose to go the route of the bond anticipation note instead of permanent financing as we watch the market and obtain the best interest rates. But we had a very successful bid. I believe we had 6 bidders on this, and it was awarded to JP Morgan Securities at an interest rate of 2.386%. So we were very pleased with that this month. The last thing that I also want to mention is the question came up when we were just at the community forum regarding SILFAB in regards to the contract and the cost that the school district is now under obligation for with Citadel Environmental. We have entered into a contract with them. Just so everyone knows, it is comprehensive in that there's 3 major tasks for the contract. One is related to stakeholder engagement and community engagement. It includes meetings with us as district leadership, with you as the board. They're also willing and have gone out to various community groups to speak and share information when that has been requested. And they will also be doing some other educational opportunities for students as we go into this year and in that regard for environmental teaching. The other 2 pieces of this have to do with the monitoring. As was discussed within the last hour, the indoor air sampling, and that is 4 different components. It was the pre-occupancy that has occurred in July. It was the post-occupancy that occurred in August. Once school started, it will happen again when SILFAB actually is in their full startup. So that date is to be determined. And then it will be quarterly over a year. So it will be 4 quarters, so it will cover a 12-month period under this contract. The third piece of it is the continuous outdoor air perimeter monitoring, where the equipment will be installed and it will be continuously monitored by Citadel Environmental. And as they stated at the meeting, they would then alert the school district, the county, and SILFAB for any levels that they were concerned about. So the contract that was entered into with those 3 tasks, the cost is approximately $89,000 a quarter. So this contract is for $356,400. Once we got into this further and we realized the cost, what this was going to cost for the district, we did reach out to York County because part of this contract was Citadel Environmental working with York County Emergency Management Group and working with the plans together and making sure everything was aligned. So we reached out to the county and we did ask, would they be willing to help assist us with the cost of this contract? And after some discussion, they came back to us and they declined to help us with the cost. We did also consider asking SILFAB to help with the cost or possibly making a donation to the school district that we would use towards this contract. But then we decided that we wanted to make sure that we remain completely independent and that we controlled and owned all the data. So based on that, we decided that we would not pursue the contribution from SILFAB any longer. We have to date paid Citadel a little over $47,000, and we have split that between partly going toward the bond referendum allocation for Flint Hill Middle School. because I feel like part of this is the initial equipment install and the initial startup. That is certainly within the law as far as opening a school. This was part of opening that school, was the initial monitoring and the baseline test results. We have also considered and began discussions with the county about possibly using some impact fees to help toward the cost of this for the initial placement of the equipment inside the school. And then some of this cost I have charged to your contingency fund for opening new schools, primarily the community engagement portion. But we will have to bring you some consideration of this in the budget next year. If we continue this down the road for more than this year. I feel like we can cover this year with what hopefully we will see with some revenues coming in over budget. We're still very favorable with things like interest earnings, that we would be able to cover this, but I think going forward, this would impact our budget definitely for next year. And you will see that this come up again if the district decides to continue this for multiple years, and that question was asked tonight, so we wanted to make sure that we are transparent and honest with our taxpayers. This will have an impact. So,
Ms. Lord, I have a question for you.
sure.
So, the county give any reason why they would decline?
They did not. They just said they had felt like they could not participate.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I
for
have,
me?
now it just escaped me.
Okay.
I have a,
Go ahead.
when we get our bond ratings, that is in large part on our financial report, right? The annual report? Is that what the bond agencies use?
I believe we do have, yes, we will have some footnote disclosure regarding that, but every time we do a bond issue, I actually have a call with the bond rating agencies in New York and discuss our year-to-date financial position, our audit report the prior year, the budget preparation, your view of the budget, what you passed in a budget, and just the overall financial operations of the district.
Do they ever ask you if we're involved in litigation?
Yeah, well, every time we do a bond issue, when our legal counsel comes here on site for us to actually sign the bond documents, one of the questions that he asks of the superintendent and the board chair is, do we have any pending litigation that he is not aware of?
Okay,
Every time.
I was just curious.
Yes.
When you were talking about the audit report, I don't know if it came from you or I got it somewhere else, but somewhere I read something about the government shutdown might preclude us from finalizing.
Yes, I put that in the superintendent's Friday update to you last week. Just to make sure you're aware, I was notified by Mr. Phillips, David Phillips, our audit partner with Green Finney Colley. He wanted to make sure we were aware of the impact of the government shutdown, that there is something that's called a single audit, and that is basically an audit of federal programs that government entities have to go through a single audit for just their federal programs that are material. And he wanted to let us know that they have been instructed by the AICPA and the Governmental Accounting Standards Board and all those national entities that they could not issue final audit reports until the OMB, the Office of Management Budget, which is a federal agency, until they issue a final, they call it a compliance supplement. They've issued it in draft form, but because now with the government shutdown and less workforce, they haven't finished it and completed it. And he said, we've been advised that we cannot issue any final audit reports until that is issued. And they've completed all the audit procedures based on last year's compliance supplement, and they just need to verify that there's not going to be any significant changes. So I did reach out to the State Department, and I wanted to make sure they were aware of that. And I said, will y'all send out guidance across the state? And they said yes. And we've all come to the conclusion that what we think will happen if we are still under government shutdown is that school districts will be allowed to issue a report and it will be marked draft, but it would then meet the December 1st deadline for South Carolina law compliance. But I just wanted to make you aware, if you heard something about that, or we get to that point on December 1st and we say we had to issue a draft statement.
The funding of,
Citadel.
as we're discussing the Citadel.
Yes.
Was there an expectation that perhaps you were going to get some help in funding, or? that-
Well, I mean, I was hopeful. Y'all know me. I was hopeful. I felt like, that this is now gonna have, once we got more into the contract and we worked on really what we thought was in the best interest of the school district to make sure that we were doing everything we could to monitor the situation. We realized what the cost would be over a year period. And I felt like we had to ask. Because I didn't feel like it was necessarily fair that it's just, our taxpayers that are having to bear the burden of this. And that's what's happening. Whether we're charging it to the bond, because that's our taxpayers, or whether we're charging it to contingency fund, or whether part of this in next year's budget has to be built into the general fund. It's our taxpayers.
Although, in
And-
fairness, it's still our taxpayers, even if the county spends their money, because
It is.
we pay that too.
Yeah.
It's just spread wider. But yeah, I mean, I think
Yes.
it would have been nice, but I don't know that
Yeah.
we're terribly surprised.
So when you spoke on, it was important for us to keep our data.
Yes.
What are we looking? Unpack that for me.
We wanted to, all of the discussions that the administration has had with Citadel Environmental Leadership, we have wanted to make sure that we are owning our data, we're paying for our data. They're monitoring our data on our behalf. And so we just wanted to keep that, we felt like it was in our best interest in the end to keep that independence.
And if CILFAB was to give us anything for that, they would want that data?
Correct.
Well, and I don't think we know that. I
Well,
think the
yeah.
concern was, the reason we wanted the equipment on our side, and we wanted the data to be ours, and Citadel will monitor it on our behalf, is so that there is no confusion that it is being manipulated in any way or anything like that. Like even the dates, I'm not sure I'm understanding or in agreement that we're gonna put out the dates ahead of time so that Citadel would be able to shut things down. But that's an example of, there is a trust concern. And so if CILFAB were to sponsor the data or have control of the data or pay for the data, would our community believe anything that came out of it?
Sounds like an attempt at transparency to me.
Correct.
No, yeah, I definitely don't want any of their money. None. So yeah, if us owning it is better, yeah, I hate that the county's not really stepping in and doing anything there, but I understand. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Leanne? All right, Joe Burke is going to come up and talk about a first reading, so there's no action right now, of some changes to the policy about live streaming because of legislative changes.
Really, honestly, there's not a lot of change for us other than we're enacting a policy, or will be enacting a policy, and that is due to the change in law. The state did pass a law that now requires school districts to live stream board meetings. That is something we have been doing for several years now, so we're a little bit ahead of the curve on that. So what we have now is a model policy that has been released based on the changes to the law. In reading through it, again, there's not anything really in here that we're not already currently doing. But just so you guys are aware, there are some requirements about, that the meeting must be live streamed in good quality, both audio and video. That's something actually Mr. Spittle and I worked on several years ago at this point to be able to update this room to provide that. We're able to show presentations. We're able to capture the audio very cleanly and obviously the video as well too. So we meet the standards for that one. There are requirements on platform. One of those is YouTube. That's where we've been streaming ours to this entire time. That is actually also serves as the district's kind of, for better lack of a better term, to use an older one, access channel. So we put a lot of different content up there, but there is a specific playlist for board meetings that go on there. Our board meetings are streamed live. This one currently is. At the end of this board meeting, it goes immediately over to view on demand, which is another part of this policy, is that those meetings are then available for anybody to go back and watch. One of the things that's in here, it talks about if there is a technical difficulty. I know actually, speaking of the county, they had a technical difficulty last night. I think several people did tied to the system-wide issue with AWS, and they were not able to live stream. This particular policy and law requires that if you have a technical issue that you cannot resolve during the meeting to bring the stream back, that a recording of the video is then uploaded at a later date. I think it says something along the lines within 24 hours, but it's a short date following that it is uploaded to your channel. We have that built into this system where we can record. So if we did have an issue, as long as the power in the entire building didn't go out, we would have a recording that we could then turn and upload at a later date. Generally, we were able to turn those fairly quickly. It just takes a little bit of time to process depending on the length of the board meeting. There is some other information in here about broadband access, which again, we have the equipment in place. So I don't think that's going to be any issues for us. And then, of course, it does talk about being in non-compliance. There is some levels of non-compliance based on first, second, third offense, and that kind of thing. The last piece of this is the ADA compliance. It does ask that make reasonable accommodations. We do utilize the YouTube closed captioning service to be able to put closed captioning up. That is not an additional service that we pay for, but we utilize that. If we got to a situation where that was not compliant, which I don't think is an issue with this policy or law, we would then have to look for an outside service, which would carry a cost with it, which is a considerable cost because then at that point you're talking about making transcriptions of a live event, which can get a little bit tough. Just by comparison, we've also been streaming our graduations live for many years now too. We use a very similar system to do that, and we broadcast through the platform, and we use a lot of those same features there too. So we've had a lot of experience with this, feel pretty comfortable with it as far as making it all function. Again, I cross my fingers. There is always a technical glitch here and there, but for the most part, I think we're pretty much ready to go as far as being in line with this law and new policy. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. This is first reading, so we'll bring it back to you for voting at a later meeting.
I have two clarifications, sort of with the policy and sort of in practice. There have been times when we, for different reasons, have chosen to meet elsewhere and not here. So, I don't know if this sort of hems us in to needing to always have meetings here when there might be an occasion where, we needed to have a special called meeting and we were going to be at a school visit, which is my second question. Can we, I guess we can't now do a special called meeting sort of.
It depends on what the nature of that meeting is. If it's going to conduct public business, in other words, just like this session is right now where it is open to the public, then it needs to be live streamed according to this law. So
Okay.
yeah, that would limit us in that. We do have some capabilities for some remote stuff, but then you're going to be relying on outside, internet connectivity, which can be an issue. We do run into that at graduations. We had to put in a lot of work to get their system to a point where it really was stable for us to use. We couldn't even rely on the Wi-Fi. We have to hardwire in for that. Our schools do have some opportunities with that. I would have to work in advance in order to get out to the streaming channels because we do have a lot of internet security in our buildings for good reason. I have to work with Mr. Spittle and Mr. Gamble to make sure the correct ports are open for the right software, and it's not something we can just leave wide open because then that opens us up to other issues. So while it is not impossible to do, it is something that this room is designed for. Now, having said that, there is the statement in this particular law and policy does not apply to lawful executive sessions because those are not public open sessions. So if you're having a lawful executive session, obviously that would not be streamed or recorded because of the content and discussions that are taking place. So it would just depend on the nature of that meeting.
So then my second question goes to school visits. like we did today, because we do publish an agenda as though that is a board meeting, even though it's not a normal
Yes.
board meeting. How,
I think, and again, this is where it gets a little bit muddy and there hasn't been some clarification yet from the state. You're not conducting public business at that point. You are touring the facility of the school. I don't think that would qualify, and I'm not even sure how you physically could do that unless we're gonna get to NBC level where you have portable live broadcast cameras that we can
Right.
walk around with. So, that is something we need to get more clarification on. Obviously, I don't think the intention of this is to limit any of the activity you guys are having in schools. But, you know, we obviously don't want to get in a situation where we're out of compliance with the law. So we're going to need a little more information.
and one of the things we probably should look at is, depending on the guidance, should we notice those meetings? Because that makes it look like it's a
Seem
board
as though
meeting,
it is a board
right?
meeting, yes.
Instead of,
Yeah. And that may be something we want to talk with School Board Association about what constitute an actual public meeting. They may come back and recommend that we break those up and not have a quorum when doing those and split up, but I know that goes against the policy for you guys because each one of you is supposed to visit the schools, so.
right,
That's a state. that's a
Yeah,
state
it's
law.
a state law. So, and anytime we have a new law or new policy, there are always those things that butt head with previous laws or policies that have to be ironed out. So I think for now, we're focusing specifically on actual public business meetings, and trying to stay away from anything that could be misconstrued as a public business meeting and not live streaming or live streaming.
other questions?
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And then we have another first reading, having to do with unencumbered time for school nurses. Mr. Bollinger is gonna, I'm looking out.
Thanks.
People are moving around.
Yeah, so if you think back to March of 2023, we had a model policy we adopted from the state to provide unencumbered time to kindergarten through fifth grade teachers, as well as special education teachers in elementary, middle, and high school, which provided them with 30 minutes of their own self-direction to use that 30 minutes as they saw fit, break during the day, if you will. This past year, the South Carolina General Assembly has also included nurses, school nurses, in that unencumbered time. So what we're looking at with that model policy, as you see in your board packet, is essentially what we've done is to adopt the same. You'll either see school nurses added before where it says instructional staff, like in that first paragraph, and then throughout the rest of the policy, it'll say instructional staff or teachers, as well as school nurses. So principals would work on their school schedules to make sure that their school nurses are provided 30 minutes of unencumbered time. You will see, one question we had, you may have as well, on the second page there, what if you have a medical emergency? In that case, of course, they would come out of their unencumbered time to deal with the medical emergency. And I know a lot of principals know there's usually that window around lunch or right after breakfast where there is a heavy medication time where medication is provided to students. We would stay away from kind of those higher times where you're seeing visits to those nurses' office to alleviate any issues there. So this model policy essentially adds school nurses to that model policy for GCLE, as well as the administrative rule that goes along with this policy.
Peter, what's been the takeaway for going back to the teachers' unencumbered time? What's been the response there? Like, what have we seen from that?
Well, I think a big response is that they like that 30 minutes of unencumbered time. And, you know, one thing I think that you all were able to provide going back, I think now 3 years, 2-3 years ago,
Ever since I retired.
ever since Mr. Pratt retired. Yeah, so you all went a little bit of a step above to provide lunch coverage 4 days a week for our teachers. So they like that time and they need that time to make sure that they're getting the necessary planning, grading, communicating with parents to take care of all that business that goes along, because they do spend some of their planning with collaborating with their teammates and planning for instruction and looking at assessment. So that's been a valuable time for them. So I think it's just helped protect, make sure they're getting some time every day to take care of all those necessary tasks. And I know the nurses, I know they try to get breaks now, but you've been in a school, those school nurses, they're busy. They stay busy all day, every day. So this will help give them that time that they need. So the schools will work with their office staff to make sure minor things can be taken care of, which has happened in the past if the nurse had been eating lunch or something like that anyway. So.
questions? All righty.
All right, thank you.
Very much. So those were first readings, but we do have a couple action items as well, starting with overnight field trips with Dr. Waitsness.
Yeah, so tonight I have 8 field trips that require board approval. And just as a reminder, according to our board policy, your approval is required when students are going to miss more than 3 instructional days or there's international travel. So we certainly don't bring all the trips to you because our students have lots of opportunities, but there are some that we do. So in your packet, you will see 8 different field trips that require your approval. The first one is for the yearbook students at Catawba Ridge. They plan to attend the CPSA Yearbook Convention in New York. I know they did this last year, so that's something they always look forward to. The second trip is actually 3 trips because it is all 3 high schools. They are going together to the FFA, the Future Farmers of America, Animal Science and Equine Camp in Cherry Grove, South Carolina. The third trip involves the band and chorus students at Springfield Middle as they plan to travel to Orlando, Florida for the Universal Stars performance. The fourth trip listed is for Banks Trail Middle School students in the fine arts classes. They will be planning to attend Walt Disney World workshops in the arts, so they'll be traveling to Orlando. The fifth field trip is for 8th graders at Forest Creek. That is the DC trip that many of our schools do, and they will be visiting our national landmarks and Capitol and all the great things going on in DC. The 6th field trip is for the 8th grade band and chorus students at Forest Creek also. They will be attending a music workshop at Universal Studios. I know one thing that I'm usually asked when I talk about this is what about the other middle schools? Are they all doing some sort of an 8th grade trip? And they all are. They're just not all over the 3 days. So all the 8th grade students have an opportunity to do a trip. Usually it's connected to American history. We have 3 of our schools going to Washington, D.C., 2 to Charleston, and 1 to Beaufort. So that connects directly to the 8th grade social studies standards. So at this time, I'll take any questions you may have about these trips.
Do we know why there weren't scholarships available for the Forest Creek trip?
I think they usually will work one-on-one when a student asks or talks with their teachers. On the form, it did not have that on there, but I'm going to check with Christine to make sure because typically there always is a way for students that have need. I think they technically don't call them scholarships, but there is resources for students in need.
Or fundraising opportunities or
Correct.
something
Yes.
can be done. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to approve the 8 overnight field trips as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the 8 overnight field trips as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? They're going to
Thank you.
Disney.
And DC.
That's right.
And
And
Universal.
Cherry Grove. That's right.
Play with piggies and goats.
All right, now we have another action item that is, again, amongst us chickens up here at the front, where we have to decide who will be delegates versus alternates when we go to our delegate assembly in December. And I don't remember, and Donna's at the back now, so I can't lean over and ask her.
She and I talked.
Who was
I
official.
believe it was Mr. Helms, Mr. Bodie, and Miss Pratt, and you sat
Last
with
year?
them as an alternate.
Okay, so we have, just to recap, we have 6 voting spots, meaning this, for as much for you guys as everybody else. When the South Carolina School Board Association decides every year what will be their priorities, their focus, their beliefs, statements, et cetera, we add them, we take some away. Based on the number of students in the district, you get a certain number of votes. And we used to be 5, and then a couple years ago, we went up to 6. So we can, everybody can go and have one vote, or we can split them up. But what we have done the last couple of years is had like 3 people, so that you have a little bit of somebody else to talk about. If there's any kind of tweeners, you've got somebody else to kind of bounce it off of. So we usually do 3 people with 2 votes each technically, and then the other 3 people as alternates, because usually Ms. Branning has to do something else with the state stuff. And then this year, I know we also have a conflict because of a very important Eagle Scout
That's right.
award that is going to be happening. So we have to decide who wants to draw the very long straw of being able to be the actual delegates versus the others of us who will still be there and serve as alternates.
That's fine. I'll do it.
Joe
That's
wants
fine.
that ribbon on his neck.
Joe, that's right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Are there any other volunteers besides Joe? Anthony wants to do it again?
Sure.
I'd love to say Scott should do it.
I don't think Scott did it last year either, so I think it's only fair. Sorry, Scott, if you're watching, I hope you can,
We love you, mean it, but
hope
guess
you can
what?
do it. So, so I think then, if you wanna, does somebody wanna make a motion of?
So
how
I'll
we're
make a
filling
motion
out?
that we nominate Mr. Bodie, Dr. Frederoli, and Mr. Helms as our delegates for delegate assembly. We have a total of 6 votes. It
Okay.
doesn't really
All
break
right,
up.
with 2
It
votes
just
each.
says
Yep,
6 for the
okay.
district. And then to name Ms. Pratt, Ms. Spears as alternates
Okay.
for December's legislative conference.
Second.
Motion and a second that Ms. Pratt, Dr. Frederoli, and Mr. Bodie to be the delegates, and, no,
Oh.
sorry.
No.
Mr. Helms,
Bodie,
Mr.
Mr. Helms,
Frederoli,
and
and
Dr.
Mr. Bodie.
Frederoli.
Yeah, okay, sorry. We have a motion and a second for Mr. Bodie, Mr. Helms, and Dr. Frederoli to be named as delegates, and Ms. Pratt and I to be listed as alternates for the 6 votes at the delegate assembly in December.
Correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is how we will conduct business that weekend.
Got your back.
And with that, we come to the very important final official business of the superintendent report.
That's right. All right. So we have a calendar of events, as you can see in your handout. We had a busy day today as we had school visits to River Trail, Catawba Ridge, and Forest Creek. Awesome to see those schools in action. And then we had the CILFAB Community Forum, and then obviously our school board meeting where we're sitting right now. And October 31st is a teacher workday, no school for students. I hate that teachers and administrators are not going to be with their students on Halloween, nor will they be the day after because it's a Saturday. So congratulations.
Is the 30th an early release day?
Yes.
Is it?
I think it's a half day.
Okay,
A half day, not an early
Half
release, a
day.
half day.
okay,
Half day.
okay. I
Okay,
thought
so
I saw that somewhere.
October 30th is a half day. Don't get that mixed up with a 2-hour early release. They are
Right.
different. So please pay attention to our communication on that with the times. I don't know the exact times right now. But then we'll have a teacher work day on the 31st, so that'll be no school for students. And then as we get to November, right now we have a scheduled school board meeting November 4th. We have school board visits to Fort Mill Elementary, Fort Mill Middle, and Doby's Bridge on the 18th. And then a school board meeting public session on the 18th. And then Thanksgiving break, which will be November 26th through 28th. I can't believe we're already talking about that, so.
And while we don't have the date on here, and typically we kind of round out the year with a single meeting in December, usually around the 8th or
Yep.
10th. I don't have my calendar up in front of me, but,
That's right.
okay.
So enrollment update, our current enrollment is 18,244 students. And then when you look at our student attendance update, I do want to kind of, last month, I gave y'all a breakdown of full day attendance and our average daily attendance. This month, I want to talk about average daily attendance versus chronic absenteeism, because there's a big difference in why both of them matter. So, average daily attendance, which we call ADA, that is a snapshot of attendance of our schools in any given time. So, a percentage of total students enrolled at that time. And it shows a school's overall attendance. So for example, a 95% ADA means that on average, 95% of our students are in school each day, okay?
And doesn't that also equate to essentially how we're funded for students? Because
It
that's
does.
like average daily
Yep.
membership.
Which
We
now,
really get dollars for everybody. We get them for
Correct.
95%.
exactly. And what it misses though, is it masks the severity of chronic absenteeism, which by averaging out the attendance of all the students, okay? So a school can have a high ADA, even if many individual students are frequently absent. Chronic absenteeism is a measure of how many students miss 10% or more of the total school days in a year. So 10% or more of the total school days in a year. This includes unexcused, excused, suspensions. It's usually calculated as a cumulative percentage over the entire enrollment period, which I'll get to that in a minute. What it does show is the percentage of students who are at risk of academic failure and other negative outcomes due to missing time in the classroom, okay? It's related to our ADA because a school's ADA rate can be deceptively high even if the chronic absenteeism is high. Because a few students who are absent frequently can be balanced out by the majority of students that are attending regularly, okay? So, both are very important. Our ADA is a planning tool. It's determines our resource allocation, determines funding, is often tied to this number. Chronic absenteeism is a warning sign. It signals more serious issue, like chronically absent students are less likely to read on grade level. They're more likely to drop out of school. They're missing out on social interactions each and every day. A combined use is really more effective if you use both, use the ADA and use the chronic absenteeism, because schools can get a clearer picture of what their attendance problems really are. So I'd say that because we want to make sure, we want to lower that chronic absenteeism as much as we can. This month, and it's broken down in your packet, we have for ADA, for each level, at all of our schools were above 95.8% average daily attendance, which is great. Catawba Ridge High School for the high schools was at 96.5%. Congratulations, Barry. He talked about winning the teacher attendance this morning. Now he won the student attendance. But all three were at 96.1% and above. For middle school, we have Pleasant Knoll Middle School, Ms. Borland, 97.6%. And for the second month in a row, we have River Trail Elementary School for elementary, 98.1%, which was the highest in the district. Now, let's go to chronic absenteeism. So you want this to be low. For high school, Catawba Ridge High School, chronic absenteeism was 7.48%. So that means 7.48% of his students were absent 10% of the time in September. There was 40, or actually that's cumulative. So August and September, 40 days of school in that time. So that means only 7.48% of his students missed 4 days or more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but to put it in real numbers, I mean, I don't know your exact attendance, it's 125 or so kids.
Correct.
It's a lot of
It
kids
is.
that are
Yes.
missing that many
Now,
days.
when you're this early in the year, you also have to remember 4 days of school could have been a terrible sickness, flu.
Yeah, true, and it could
excused.
be
Yep.
starting late, because I
Correct.
know sometimes.
Starting late,
Yeah.
could be a
Okay.
suspension,
Fair.
something like that.
Okay.
At the middle school, Gold Hill Middle School, 4.16%, so congratulations, Stump. And at the elementary school, the lowest in the district was River Trail Elementary School at 2.58%. So we need to talk to Ms. Stager about what she's doing to get
Otters
those
are
kids to school. Those otters are happy, that's right.
Vitamins, man.
So
That's right.
I really just wanted to make sure y'all had a breakdown in the difference. And as we go along throughout the year, I want to make sure that we continue to report on that chronic absenteeism number. Hopefully it will get lower the more days we have, and hopefully we just had a month where some of our students missed 4 days for whatever
Yeah.
reason. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a 1 week kind of a thing, so.
yep, that's all.
Anything else you want to share with the group?
No,
or the-
we're, everything's going well. Schools are moving along. We're getting into that, time of year. I will say that, got a lot of feedback on the week off. And all positive feedback. I don't think I got one piece of negative feedback on the week off, or not, I shouldn't say week off, but the, fall break. Not everybody had a week off, but, our teachers were very happy. I think they came back recharged. Talked to a lot of our principals at the principals meeting last week. They had wonderful things to say about it, and hopefully our students got a little recharge. I know the one in my household did.
And I saw a mixed bag where I saw a lot of students that got to take advantage of, doing things with their family. I also saw a lot of camps and things that were offered for those that, were here and got to do something different for the week as well, so.
Yep.
I didn't give you a heads up on this,
No,
but
you're good.
one of the things that you had in your Friday update that I meant to ask you about, you mentioned starting some student advisory councils.
Yes.
Can you
Okay.
just
Yes,
talk about
absolutely.
that for a second?
Had one today, actually. So I've gone to went to Catawba Ridge last week and went to Fort Mill High School this week. Dr. Dixon went with me, and we met with about 15 students at each school. They had to apply to be on the Student Advisory Council, And what this council, what our intent of this is to give students a voice about what's going on, not only district-wide, but school-wide, and give them opportunities to share with us what's going well, the things they like, the things they may not like, or they want us to improve. Got a lot of good feedback last week and today at both schools. Talked a lot about college applications, talked a lot about bathrooms, talked a lot about all these different, things. And then our goal in the first meeting, we're going to Nation Board next week, is really just to get to know them, to kind of see how things are going right now, and then to get the topics they want to discuss. So we will be going there every month. We'll be going to every high school every month. I think it's every Tuesday for most months. But we'll be rotating them. So we'll go to one high school one Tuesday, and then we'll have one Tuesday off each month. So we're really excited about it. The kids were awesome, and they talked a lot. I had to cut them off. Today, the bell rang at Fort Mill High School. It did the same at Catawba Ridge, and they were still talking, and Dr. Dixon and I had to be like, look, guys, I don't want to keep you past the bell, so y'all need to, you can leave now. But we did ask them if they had any questions. They have our email address, and they can, obviously, and we're going to try to give them the topics for each month moving forward. Dr. Dixon and I are going to get feedback from all 3 high schools. We're going to get the topics that we're going to discuss each month and give it to them a couple weeks in advance so that they can go to their classmates and say, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. Do you have any feedback for us as we move forward? So,
Gray, what type of kids are in there?
all realms, and we asked for that. We when we sat down with the 3 high school principals, we said we don't want just your high flyers, and we want people that can represent different groups of students in these meetings, because we want to learn from all of them. It's really good.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
We're excited about it.
All right, well, we are in need of an executive session to discuss personnel recommendations, legal issues, and contractual issues. And so I thank you all for joining, and
Motion to go into executive session.
we're now in executive session. Almost. All right, we are back
Motion to return to public session?
in public session, and while in executive session, we discuss personnel recommendations, legal issues, and contractual issues. However, we have no actions to take at this time. So I'd entertain a motion